Oh my gosh, there seem to be so many rules when it comes to dating and relationships. So what is a person to do when there seems to be a gray area? And a lot of time the advice you get is super conflicting. Well, I hope to answer all those questions in this video. Stick around. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. My name is Yonci, and this is my channel, Chasing Yonci. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you have returned, my God, bless you. If you are returning though, you know that I am in a much more casual environment today. I don't think it gets any more casual than this, but I'm gonna switch it up for today's video, and I hope you guys still enjoy it just as much. I wanna talk to you about rules of dating. Everywhere on social media, you see people asking questions and wanting to get people's feedback, and shoot, I literally got my following doing that. I was new to the dating world. I basically got married straight out of college without having dated, married the pretty much second guy I really talked to. And so I didn't have a lot of experience. So when I got divorced 12 years later, I was like a freaking deer in the headlights. Not to mention a decade had passed and a lot of the rules had changed, you know, the few rules that I did kind of know. But anyway, there's a lot of gray area, and there are two main things that I want to talk about in today's video that will really help to navigate through all of this. I know it sounds crazy. How can two things answer all the questions there are when it comes to dating? But it's a principle. And one of the things that I was raised on is principle. If you have principles in your life, you can line everything up against it. It's kind of like a ruler. A ruler is going to be a ruler all day long. If you establish what an inch is and you establish what a foot is, everything that you come across, you can line up against that ruler and see how many inches is this. It's not going to change situationally. And I think a lot of times people have situational ethics, and that's the problem that we're going to talk about in number one today. The first thing I want to say is keep that same energy. Now, before I go on, if you haven't liked this video, please hit that like button. That's the way that you can kind of give a tip. It's like social media currency. So go ahead and hit that like button if you're enjoying this content, or at least you're excited about hearing this content, and hit subscribe if you want more content like this. This is such a big deal, not just so that I can pop my collar, although it's nice to see, okay, people like this video. It's really important because YouTube looks at it and says, people are enjoying this, so we're gonna push this out in front of more people. So thank you so much for taking the moment to do that. I'll also remind you at the end to do it again. But number one, like I said, is keep that same energy. So many people have an issue with hypocrisy, and a lot of times it's not even the issue themselves that made them upset. It's the fact that that person didn't keep the same energy. Let's say, for example, you make a really big deal about people being quiet when you're sleeping, but then when they're sleeping, you're being loud. They might not have really cared about you being loud. It's the fact that you were being a freaking hypocrite. So keep that same energy. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up keep the same energy is because a lot of times we give ourselves a pass, and not just in relationships, like romantic relationships and dating, but in life. We give ourselves a pass because we can justify everything in our mind. Now, I'm going to skip around a little bit, but when I was younger, there were times that I wasn't really sure if my outfit was, you know, gonna fly. So I would ask my dad about it. And he would say to me things like, baby girl, there's a pretty good chance that if you have to ask, it probably isn't gonna fly. And it's true. When you were wearing something that was, you know, pretty run-of-the-mill, pretty standard, there's really nothing to ask about. It's that your conscience is kind of pinging you and going, this is a little bit outside the norm, so maybe I should get that cosign. Well, it's the same thing in relationships. We have to be honest with ourselves. And a lot of the things that I talk about in my videos is becoming aware of your inner voice. It's being alone with yourself and quieting your mind enough to be able to hear these thoughts. It's the same way you can't be in a loud, crazy, hectic environment and think you can hear someone whispering next to you. A lot of times that little voice inside of us, our conscience, is very quiet, and it can be drowned out by the other noises. And the other thing is that if you're in denial, you can talk yourself into something that you know good and well is not good for you. So you also have to build that self-discipline, which is also something I talk about in content, but that's not for today, not for right now. Just understand you have to hear that little voice and then be strong enough to follow it. So let's say you're honest with yourself, you hear that little voice and you follow it. This is what you need to do. If something gives you a little bit of a twinge and it's like, maybe I shouldn't do this, You always ask yourself the hypocrisy test. How would I feel in this situation? So let's take this for example. I had a situation where an ex was going to come over. Now the ex and I, totally friends, nothing is happening, yada, yada, yada. But he was going to come and spend the day with me. At the time, I was getting to know somebody. And I have a rule. That's the other thing. I have a rule that says if I feel the need to not tell something, if I purposely want to cover up something, keep information from somebody when I'm getting to know them or in a relationship with them, that is a huge red flag. And I have to figure out why. Because it's one thing if you just don't think about it and you just happen to not mention it. But if you are intentionally not wanting to say anything, or let's say you don't want to answer a FaceTime at a certain time because you don't want them to see something, that is a red flag because you are trying to hide something. And this is where things can become tricky. The reason why I addressed gray areas is because most people put such an emphasis on the title. Okay, well, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend yet. We're not married yet. We're not da 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 da. But here's the thing. How you start is how you finish. And when you have that little alarm bell going off in your mind, that is your conscience. And this is why I don't subscribe to dating titles. It's one of the reasons, I should say, why I don't subscribe to dating titles, because I feel like people act a certain way once that title is there, but that title doesn't really do anything. If that person wasn't that person before the title, why would I think that they're going to suddenly be that way with the title? And like I mentioned in previous videos, they can instantly take the title away, and then what? Okay, so there's no emotional protection if you're looking for the title to protect you. It's kind of like jumping out of an airplane and having a parachute drawn on paper. Okay, just because I drew a parachute, it doesn't mean it's gonna save me. Just because I announced a title doesn't change the person's character. The character is who you are from day one. Let me explain so there's no confusion. Getting back to the example about the situation. Okay, so I'm getting to know somebody. There isn't a title, and there's not going to be a title because I don't believe in titles for dating, but I was getting to know someone. That guy and I had purpose that we were going to be taking the time to get to know one another. I tend to just get to know one person at a time. He did the same thing. So there was an expectation of exclusiveness, not because we owed each other that favor, but just because that's our process, right? And so I decided, you know what? I felt a little twinge, but I mentioned that, you know, my former guy was coming over, my ex. I keep wanting to say former ex, but that's so redundant. Anyway, and so as I was saying it, I just felt like an a-hole because I did my own test. And for the record, he was like, oh, that's fine. But my own test was, how would you feel if the shoe was on the other foot? And so I thought about it and I was like, I would not want a guy that I'm getting to know hanging out, even if it's platonically, with an ex. Now, don't come for me. Don't judge me. I'm just a little bit territorial and I like nice, clean breaks. I like clean lines. I don't like a lot of overlapping. And by overlapping, I mean, if someone has had history with somebody, I just, given the opportunity, I would like to keep it completely separate. Now, the only difference is that if you have children together because you have no choice. I know some people who are totally fine with their person hanging with their ex and they're so cool with hanging with their ex. But again, this is me we're talking about. And for the sake of this example, my rule of thumb is whatever I am okay with or not okay with, I'm going to hold myself to that same standard. So I think this will get you out of a lot of trouble if you use this first principle to keep the same energy. The other thing is that the reason why we give ourselves so many passes is because it's us. We're like, well, I'm here. I know what's going on. I know what I'm feeling. I know what this person has done in the past or whatever. You justify it. Oh, it's going to be this or it's going to be that, or other people are going to be there, whatever the things are, you're having to talk yourself into and explain away why it's okay. But the reality is that if the roles were reversed, you don't have the luxury of being inside that person's mind. So you can only deal with the optics. You can only deal with how it makes you feel. So try your best to take away all of the rationalizations and just say, point blank, how would this look? Point blank, how would this look? Because we can rationalize things. Well, I'm living with this person to help make ends meet. Or, you know, we've been friends for so long. Or, you know, we live close to each other. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter the reason. At the end of the day, if you would not be cool with it on the other side, don't do it. And furthermore, don't leave it up to the other person to say something. Just don't do it. I feel a lot of times we try to put the pressure on the other person by forcing them to say, no, I'm not cool with this, but then they look like the bad guy. It's like dealing with your children. You want them at some point to just say, you know what, I'm not even gonna ask my mom and dad about this because I already know it's a no-go. I already know it's something that I shouldn't be doing, or this doesn't better me in any way. The other thing that I wanna note here is that being in a relationship requires so much selflessness. Technically, was it my prerogative? Could I have had him over and could I have said it without, you know, my person that I was getting to know knowing? Of course. I'm not cheating. I'm not doing anything that's wrong. But that's why I mentioned it's called gray area. To me, the difference between a really upstanding person and a super crappy person is how they deal with that middle ground. I feel that if all of your rationalizations are I can, or it's not illegal, or it's not wrong, and you try to make it this black or white, really, really good or really, really bad thing, maybe you should be single. Because when you are with somebody else, you constantly have to put them before you. You have to put their needs before yours. Now, before again, you think I misspoke and said, oh my God, that sounds like a toxic relationship. You shouldn't put anyone before you. I say you can. The reason why you could do that is because in this hypothetical situation, you have very, very, very carefully screened out the person that you're talking to know that they are a person of good character and that they are also putting you first. So if I'm putting you first and you're putting me first, both of us are being looked out for. But that's the thing. That's the symbiotic nature of a relationship. I need you, you need me, I look out for you, you look out for me. It's a balance. It becomes toxic when each person is looking out for themselves or only one person is looking out for the other and that person's looking out for number one. I don't know if you've watched my video that I did talking about why I am all about dating without titles, but one of the reasons behind it is that getting to know someone is not black and white. There's not a point, even though you might have a conversation at a certain point where you're like, what are we? And then you establish it. It's like a curve. It's really hard to say when you started going up versus going this way because it's a curve. It's like, where's the starting point? I know that wasn't like the most eloquent way of saying it, but I feel that everybody has intentions. Everyone has intentions, or they should. When I take someone's phone number, when I meet somebody, at that very moment, I have an intention. I might have the intention of just having fun. I might have the intention of just being physical. I might have the intention of getting to know the person to see if this could go somewhere. In my mind, we have some intention, or we at least should have some intention. The reason why so many people hit problems from the beginning is because they're not on the same page. If you cannot say, hey, what space are you in? What do you have room for in your life? And then see if it matches with me, you are going to have a problem. A lot of times people don't want to speak their truth because they don't want to look needy or they don't want to look thirsty or whatever. But if I'm in a space where I'm like, you know what, my career's in order, my kids are grown, you know, I'm in a happy place, I'm really ready to settle down if I meet the right person. That's in a different space of, I'm just getting my business off the ground. I barely have any time, but I'm really horny from time to time and I really want someone I could smash. That's a totally different headspace. Not saying those are the only two options, but I'm just giving you the example. So let's say if somebody who it's totally their right is in that second space and I'm in the space that I'm in, well, I'm going to come into it with a totally different energy. I'm going to come in with a lot of time to devote. And I don't mean a lot like I have all this time on my hands, but in the sense that you make time for what you want to do. Now, if that person is not looking to establish this deep, deep relationship, they're just going to give whatever they can in bits and pieces. That is why it is so, so, so important to have the conversation early on. What are your intentions? And also see if their actions line up with their words, because people can say whatever they want, but you also have to watch. The reason why I don't say just watch their actions is because if the person does speak their truth, you can eliminate them right at the beginning or decide if you want to even stay. You just need to watch to see if there are inconsistencies with what they're saying, but allow that person to mark themselves. Because if down the road their story changes, you can then draw back to, hey, when we started out, this is what you said you wanted. This is what you said you were looking for, or you said you weren't looking for this and that, yada, yada, yada. There's another video that I'm going to be doing talking about expectations. Oh, Lord, stick around for that one. That one is definitely going to be juicy. I know the comments are probably going to be wild on that, but I'm going to speak my truth. But getting back to the fact that relationships developing are not black and white, I think it's really important to not put so much emphasis on titles, because a lot of people look at titles as I can act a fool before I get the title, and then once I get the title, now I have to act differently. To me, if you are both trying to create a relationship that is built on trust and intimacy, and it's something that you're going to grow off of, I don't think that you should start out acting like total free agents. To me, again, this is my personal, preference. I start out with wife energy when it comes to getting to know the person. And what I mean by wife energy is not what I'm doing for that person. Okay. That is a big difference. What I'm talking about wife energy is my character. There's a verse in the Bible that says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. That implies that she was already a wife when he met her. And what I think wife means, it's your mindset. Are you disciplined? Are you a person of character? Are you loyal? Are you trustworthy? And to me, that starts at the very beginning. So if at the beginning, I'm letting you know that I want to get to know you, I'm interested in developing a relationship, but I'm out here meeting all these other people and doing the same thing, to me, it sends a mixed message. And also, it's going to be pretty hard to kind of give myself if I'm spread out amongst all these other people. Let's just be honest. When you first meet somebody, yes, you don't know if this is someone you want to spend all of your time getting to know. However, it doesn't take a long time for your interest to kind of grow and say, you know what, let me focus in on this person. This is why I say that it's so important to be intentional with yourself and then communicate that intention to other people. Now, you might be saying, Yonci, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. That's a surefire recipe for getting hurt. That's the second point that I want to address. What is your MO in dating? And for those of you who don't know MO, it's modus operandi, or your method of operation. How do you proceed when you're dating someone? There are two ways you can go about navigating the dating and relationship space. One of them, which to me is the more popular, more prevalent, kind of the go-to method, is protect yourself at all costs. Okay, that's number one. You're coming in, if you're a boxer, you put your hands up like this because you're constantly trying to protect yourself from a punch. Even if you punch someone, your other hand is going to stay up because your whole thing is, I want to do what I want to do, but I also need to protect myself and guard myself from a punch. That's the first option. The second option is coming in like this. Okay, if you come in like this, two things can happen, or there's a good and the bad. The bad is that you're totally vulnerable. Okay, you're open to anything that comes in. The good side is you're open to anything that comes in. If goodness comes your way, you have the maximum opportunity to grab onto it. Okay, so it's like coming in with this, or coming in with this. Who can hold the most? The person like this, but it also makes you vulnerable. Now here's the trick. You might think, yeah, but I got a lot to lose. I can't afford to hurt my heart. Well, guess what? Nobody ever can protect themselves from getting hurt. Nobody. You could literally date 15 people at the same time. You're still going to get hurt. The point is that when you like someone, you start to have expectations of that person. And all it takes is that one person to fail to come through on your expectations and your little heart will hurt. Okay? It is a lie from the trick of the enemy that doing all these other things somehow protect your heart. There is no way to protect your heart. So if you just get that out of your head and understand it's not possible to protect your heart, you could stop doing the things that will potentially sabotage the right person from getting to know you. So many times there are misunderstandings because people are trying to play these games where it's, I don't want to look too needy, I don't want to look thirsty, I don't want to be too aggressive. And they're trying to pretend to be something other than themselves. And this is a little bit of a tricky situation, which is why I'm pausing a little bit, because there are certain rules. I do talk about masculine energy and things like that. You can watch the video here if you're interested. But there are certain rules that, yes, you do need to stick to and kind of, it's not playing your cards. You know what? Actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to retract that. It's not so much that you're trying to give off this facade. I encourage people to become that thing so that they can give that energy off, but authentically. So scratch that first one. That's what I'm saying, and I'm sticking to it, and I said what I said. Anyway, you have to just be who you are and understand that if that person doesn't accept you, it's not because you have a flaw necessarily or there's something wrong with you. It's just a matter of compatibility. You guys just don't mesh together. Think about foods, okay? Corn might be really, really delicious, but it doesn't pair well with a dessert. All right. So it's not about the item being bad itself. It just doesn't go together. But the point of the matter, because I feel like I went off on a tangent, is that you should come into a relationship like this. You should come into the relationship with full expectations that things can go right. I found myself guilty of that. I kept thinking about everything that could go wrong. And if I accept the fact that some relationships work out, some relationships come, being okay with that, it kept me from proceeding with fear. And when we proceed with fear, we do so many stupid things. A lot of times when I'm giving people advice, I have friends that call me or things like that, and they ask all these questions. It's because they're trying to play this game. They're trying to understand what that person meant by that, or why did they do this, or why did they do that. In reality, you should have the type of relationship where you could just talk to them directly and say, hey, I want to talk to you more. Or, hey, you want to talk to me more than I'm available to talk to you, or whatever the case. Let's normalize transparency when it comes to communication, because that is literally the foundation that successful relationships are built upon. We got to take away this notion that we got to come into the relationship so suave, so cool, like these little players or whatever. We got to stop coming in with that energy and thinking that we can suddenly transition into this monogamous, caring, vulnerable place. Why not start from the beginning? Why not start from the beginning? And the thing is that you're in control of whatever you give. So I'm not saying that you need to sleep with this person right away. I'm not saying that you need to tell your deepest, darkest secrets right away. What I am saying is come in with the energy that you would want matched. Do unto others as you would want done to you. Have a good character, have good energy. Don't be secretive. Don't be deceptive. Start out the way you want to finish. It will be a game changer. And it will also eliminate the people that weren't supposed to be there in the beginning. Because I guarantee you, if you're having these transparent conversations and you're talking about your feelings, you're talking about your emotions, and the other person isn't feeling it, well, guess what? That gives you an opportunity to move on, or give them an opportunity to move on and say, hey, we're on different pages here. We have to stop thinking that we can try to be inauthentic and somehow get something amazing out of it. So, in summary, make sure you are keeping that same energy. Don't do something that you would not be okay with on the other end. And listen to that little voice. If you feel that little prodding saying, this might not be a good idea, sis, or bro, this is not a good look. Because if you guys do end up in a committed relationship, that thing could come back and bite you in the butt. So really put it through the test of the filter of, is this really worth it? Okay. The second thing is, don't go in with an energy of protecting your heart, because we know that's not even possible. Go in with the idea that this is a good person. This has a great opportunity for success, and know that you control the amount of information and amount of yourself that you give. When I say give, I mean physically. All right. But be authentic, be true to who you are, and have a good character. Now, guys, if you like this video, please smash the like button. If you want more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. And if you've done so already, thank you so much. Hey, drop me a comment, please. Let me know what you thought of this video. A lot goes into producing these videos, and it's a little bit weird when it's like crickets. I don't know what you thought. I love it when you share your thoughts and you let me know what you liked. Shoot, I don't even care if you let me know what you don't like. Just speak to me and let me know what you enjoyed or didn't like. All right, guys? One more favor, drop me a comment. A lot of work goes into producing these videos, and so it is everything hearing your feedback. It's kind of like a chef killing himself to make a really good meal, and you drop off the plates and then everyone's just kind of like, you want to get feedback one way or the other. So drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought, good or bad. I really don't mind, but I would like to know what you thought. And if you think other people will enjoy this video, please hit that share. One other thing that's really, really amazing, because so many of you guys say, oh my gosh, I love your content. I love what you're doing. Do me a favor. If you have Instagram, if you have Facebook, drop a post. Drop a link if it's Facebook, because you can put links in there. If it's on Instagram, you could do a story or something like that. Go ahead and do a post, and you could tag me in it. I'm on Instagram as Chasing Yonci. Anything that you guys can do to spread the word, it is like giving me a proverbial hug. So I appreciate it so much. As you guys know, I am live on Sundays, so I hope you're able to join me at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central, or 8 Eastern. Until then, I will see you later, and be sure to tell someone that you love them.